Hey guys, this is Scott Horn with the Owner Finance Network, and we're going to have some fun in this video and talk about multiple liens on properties and navigating them, maybe how to use them to our benefit. If you find the video helpful and you like it, take a minute and like the video. Make any comments below. We'll do our very best to answer those for you. Take a minute, shoot over to our YouTube channel and join it as well. So guys, when we are going out and trying to acquire a home, the first thing I always do, and I call this know before you go, is I research the property. I want to know what is out there and what is existing on that home. Is this home debt-free? Are there judgment liens, child support liens, IRS liens, property tax liens? Who knows out there? Is there a mortgage loan? If so, what kind of mortgage loan is it? Is it the original purchase money mortgage? Is there a down payment assistant loan? Did the seller do a loan modification and now there's a HUD partial claim deed of trust on the property? And guys, when you look that up, there will always be two deeds of trust recorded, one to the mortgage company, one to HUD, but it's only one lien in that scenario. They're almost identical, but sometimes investors think that means that there's two liens on the property. There's not, there's only one in that situation. But what type of mortgage loan is out there? Is it a reverse mortgage maybe? I don't know. And then what else is out there? So I'm doing the property search, I'm doing name search on either on both of the owners or one of the owners, whoever the owner is of the property. I want to know what I'm dealing with. Now, once I know what's out there, it gives me the ability to run my numbers, do what I need to do before I meet with the seller. I want to know what the value of my property is, and it's a repaired status. What are my comparables in the general neighborhood? Are they fully improved or not? Do they have new windows or not? What does that look like? Things of this nature. So I know what I need to be renovating this home for if the house needs renovation, to be apples to apples comparison on value. It helps me when I go see the home to make that final decision. Now, of course, I'm going to go online, look at all the various sites I can, get value estimates. I'm going to use the multiple listing and order sourcing to get as close to my value as property. I'm going to see pictures of the house online, the neighborhood, what am I looking at? I'm getting all my facts together and get it in my head. And then, of course, running numbers on the things I find online. I'm looking at things such as if a mortgage was taken out 8 years ago, I don't have a copy of the note, but I can look at the deed of trust online, or maybe the warranty deed, and on page 1, the original loan balance is mentioned. I know the date that's there, so I know when the first payment's going to be. And I'll Google what the average interest rate was 8 years ago. I go to an amortization schedule, plug the numbers in, and I know about where that buyer, or the balance is going to be on their loan balance. So I have some reasonable expectations. Maybe I got a loan balance here, and I've got a value up here. So I go see the house, if repairs or something between, I can start putting things together quickly in my mind, run my numbers so I can make them an offer, either right there on the spot or within a matter of a few minutes afterwards. If there's a default out there in some format, of course, I'm hoping to talk to these buyers up front in advance about that, what that might be or what it might look like, how many months behind are they, and I'm getting some reasonable expectations. But now, once I get past those mortgage loans, I'm looking at other liens. Is there a judgment lien? In some states, judgment liens attach to every property. In other states, they don't. For instance, here in Texas, a judgment lien does not attach to real property by operation of law. You shoot over to Arizona, a property is exempt for the first $300,000 in value against any lien, such as a judgment lien out there and things like that along the way. Here in Texas, our title companies want these judgment liens removed, and there's a process to do that that takes about 34 days in order to issue title from a closing perspective. So there are ways of removing it if we need to do so, and it's a homestead. If it's not a homestead, it's going to attach. But I want to know if that judgment lien is even the borrowers or not first. Does the address match up? Do the names match up? Do the last four, is there a social security number on there that I can look at and compare in some format? Maybe there's a child support lien that'll show up. Well, is it the sellers again? Can I confirm that anyway? I want to make sure I do note these things so I can ask these questions to the seller when I meet them. Is there an IRS lien? If there is an IRS lien, I want to look at that lien and see what it looks like. Or I want to ask whoever is pulling my title for me to look at that for me. And what are the refile dates? So often judgment liens fall off in a short time frame. They're only valid for 10 years. An IRS lien, when you look at the federal tax lien online, there's a refile date. That means it goes away at that refile date if the IRS doesn't refile their lien in some format. So knowing these kind of things helps me navigate my conversation with the seller. So often the sellers know these things are out there. They may have forgotten about it, but sellers aren't, I take it back, some sellers do just hide their head in the sand, I get it, but most get it to some regard. I do find it kind of interesting that a lot of sellers, if they've done a loan modification, have forgotten that there is this $10, $20, $30, $50, $100,000 loan modification through that HUD partial claim deed of trust because they're not making any payments on it. And you kind of get that out of sight, out of mind situation. People will tell you, I didn't know I had a judgment lien. Well, they know they got sued. They maybe just tended to forget about it. And trust me, they'll know if there's an IRS issue out there because the IRS is already bugging them and they know that's going on too. But sometimes they try to hide from these things. And so I just simply bring it up to their attention and say, this is what I found, and let's talk about them for a minute if they're theirs. And if they can dissuade me that they're not theirs, that's great, but so often it is what it is. But knowing that gives me the ability to navigate this transaction to my benefit. If there's a $20,000 judgment lien on the property, can I use that, take off the top, where the buyer doesn't have to deal with it, at least not with this property at this time, because it might be going away in 6 months or a year or 2 years or something else? Maybe there's an IRS lien out there and they're aware of that they can't pay for some reason, it's too big or whatever it might be. Am I willing to buy that property, leaving that IRS lien or that judgment lien on the property? Now, in my world and at our offices, the answer is absolutely yes. We'll look at those things through a different lens where maybe we're buying the home subject to the existing debt. There are judgment liens, IRS liens out there that I'm willing to leave on the property because I know that if these are older liens, I know they're going to expire usually fairly soon. There's a time frame that I work within that I'm willing to go out. Sometimes not so much. I'm not too worried about the IRS coming in and foreclosing on their IRS lien. If they do, they've got to pay off the mortgage and those kind of things, so I don't at least have that obligation. And I'm not too worried about a judgment lien that is older, because if somebody was going to try to enforce that judgment lien, they would have done it a long time ago. And learning how to look at these liens is so important to help us figure that out. Understanding that a HUD partial claim deed of trust that seems to be so prevalent out there, or even a down payment assistance loan, these loans today oftentimes are zero interest, zero payments. They stay on the property until the property is sold or that purchase money mortgage becomes due. And so it gives me that ability to negotiate with my seller knowing these things. Can I reduce the sales price even more by taking that responsibility on by leaving those liens on the property? Absolutely I can. Now keep in mind, guys, if you're going to buy and hold that property as a rental property, that's awesome. There's no back-end disclosure to anybody about the IRS lien or judgment liens or whatever might be left on the home. The DPA loans or the HUD partial claim loans, because I know they're there. I own the property now, subject to those liens, and I'm going to rent it out. But if I'm going to do a wraparound mortgage to a back-end buyer, those have got to go on your affidavit of debts and liens. If they do, you may need to explain to your back-end buyer how those are going to be navigated. They are your responsibility to handle, not theirs. They're going to fall off within a certain time frame. And oftentimes your buyers, they get it. Sometimes they don't. They want them gone. That becomes your decision to pay it or not pay it, or go find a different buyer, whatever that case might be. But understanding liens and how they works so well. I just want to give you all a quick example. I use this oftentimes where I had actually bought a judgment lien. This judgment lien was in fourth lien position. And when I researched the title originally, I found a property tax lien. Here in Texas, property tax liens take super priority first lien position over everything, including a mortgage. So I knew that was out there for about $28,000. There was an 8-year-old judgment lien on the property. I'm just going, okay, it was only $4,000, wasn't much, even with interest. Could I pay that off very easily if I had to? Sure. But I go, no one's going to, if they haven't dealt with this thing in 8 years, they're not going to deal with it in the next 2 years. They're just hoping to get their money at some point in time. On the other hand, there was an IRS lien for $105,000 or $10,000 on this thing, but it too had been out there for 8+ years. I'm just going, no one's going to do anything with these. They're going to fall off. I went ahead, bought the judgment lien, did another tax loan, paying off the first one to protect myself, took the property subject to the tax lien loan, the judgment lien, the IRS lien, and most investors would go, I'm not going to touch that. But understanding how they work, being able to navigate them appropriately is so important. Did I go out and kick a sleeping dog, calling the IRS about their lien or calling this judgment creditor? No, I just let it sit. And guess what happened down the road? They both went away. Cleaned it all up. I got a steal of a deal. And again, that's where we get opportunities sometimes. Talking to sellers. I'm not here to represent the seller as their lawyer. They can go get their own advice from their own lawyers, whatever it might be. I'm going to negotiate the deal to my advantage, knowing what's out there, knowing there's a risk that I'm taking, and so often it helps us as investors get a better deal. So find time to understand how liens work in your state, what the rules and regulations are for down payment assistance loans. HUD partial claims are typically a federal type lien, so it's going to be the same in all states. Make sure you know how to work the county clerk's website so you can determine what type of mortgage lien might be out on the property before you go out that door and meet that seller. Know how judgment liens work in your state on a homestead or a non-homestead property and how they may affect that property one way or the other. And is there a removal process? Know how child support liens work. Now, typically with most attorney general's offices, they're going to get paid because all the title companies have gotten in bed with the AG's office because they don't want that bad actor to profit on the sale of property without paying their child support, which is the right thing to do, I think. But if a seller is not getting any money, guys, the AG will remove that lien from the property. It's just if they are making money, they will make sure that that is applied to the child support lien first. Is there some other kind of lien out there? Is it a state lien, a hospital lien that may or may not affect your property? Is there a restitution lien, which you don't see those too often, but they're out there, and that's usually from some type of a criminal scenario where the court has issued a fine against this person and they file this restitution lien in deed records that will attach. And restitution liens act just like child support liens, more or less. If the seller's not getting any money at the closing, they're going to remove it for you. But if they are getting money, it needs to be applied to that restitution lien in whatever order those liens are recorded of record out there. So guys, it's really important to understand liens, how they work in your state, because every state's a little bit differently, how they're going to be looked at, how they're handled, how they can be removed, how do the title companies in your state handle this kind of stuff. Take the time, ask the questions, be knowledgeable, and then go out and negotiate your deals with liens on them even, learn how to profit from these situations. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please take a minute and like us. Don't forget to make any comments. We'll do our best to address those for you. Go over and join our YouTube channel too. I look forward to talking to you guys next time.